All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Ha. Ha. Doing a sound check. Check one, check two. This didn't actually make any. Okay. Here. I can hear myself. I think you can hear me. But good to see y'all. It is July 2nd. We're halfway through the year already. My God. So time is flying by. We're live on Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. YouTubers are coming in the door. Rockfinners, got some Rockfinners. They're in the door. Got some Calliners. They're in the door. Good to see you all and welcome. Yes, Denver, you called it. Suits only suggests what I can only characterize as bad. I've actually been trying to talk about this story for a couple of days, but there's been, I end up covering about, I don't know, maybe between 10 and 20 things a day, 10 and 20 items a day, and sometimes much less than that. Sometimes it's like 5 things. But trust that there are definitely 20, maybe 30 things for me to talk about that I have lined up to possibly talk about. And this has been in my queue. I've been trying to get to it. But people have been talking about this, very concerned about this story of a radioactive release. Let's see. Yes. Yep. Oh wow. Is that shoot the link Osama? Guys. Thanks for the links in the call-in chat, Osama. Oh, also got a I believe this is from you, Osama. I think some coffees, Oswami. Bought 3 coffees, and said many thanks for your reasoned programming. But thank you for the coffees. I appreciate it. Sorry if I didn't get a chance to see those before I quit the show yesterday. My apologies. All right, so yeah, trying to get to this. There's so many. But let's look at this because this is a big story. It should be much bigger than it is, of course. On the lines of this is a East Palestine event, type of event that's not getting nearly the coverage of East Palestine. Where is it? Here it is. Highly radioactive spill on the Columbia River in East Washington. Worse than expected. You don't say. The spill is so radioactively hot that it would be lethal to a worker on direct contact within 2 minutes. Dang. And how much coverage is this going to get? I don't know. But these no, god dang it. No. All right. Now I didn't actually realize this was a sorry guys. Now I'm going to have to find this somewhere else. Yeah, I'm not going to subscribe to the Tri-City Herald. Sorry, guys. Spill of highly radioactive waste beneath a building on the Hanford Nuclear Reservation north of Richland and near the Columbia River is both deeper and broader than anticipated. In a statement Thursday, the Department of Energy said the contamination in the soil at the Hanford 324 building 1,000 feet from the Columbia River and a mile north of Richland is much larger than previously identified. Oh. I mean, these things seem to happen every day, right? There was a huge chemical explosion in China, chemical factory. We just can't seem to control any of this stuff that we're doing, right? All these amazing things that we can do, that humans can do. We can't seem to control any of it. I mean, I think we try, sure. And maybe we fool ourselves that we have guardrails in place and regulations and stuff. You know? We tell ourselves and each other like, oh, there are laws about that. And, they're really looking out for the environment. No, they're not. Nobody is. Not in the U.S., not in China, not in Chile, not anywhere. Nobody is looking out for the environment. Nobody is looking out for the environment. Nobody has adequate laws in place. Nobody has enough guardrails in place to make sure that we don't actually destroy everything. That is just folly if you think that or believe that. Destroy everything and ourselves, right? All the guardrails and the safeties that are supposed to be in place to protect, other people. Folly. If you believe that, I want to sell you a island that I own, that I just bought with some money I found in the couch. We don't try. We're sloppy. We're careless. We're greedy. We do not try. We don't try hardly enough. We're not at 80%. We're not at 50%. We're at like 15%. We're not trying nearly enough. We're not anywhere close to being halfway there. Now the Department of Energy is rethinking the cleanup plan for the spill discovered 13 years ago, with work crews making preparations for the excavation of the radioactive material over the past 6 years. The spill of cesium and strontium in the soil beneath the 324 building is so radioactively hot that it would be lethal to a worker on direct contact within 2 minutes, DOE has said previously. Radioactivity in the contaminated soil has been measured at 8,900 rad per hour. The plan has been to leave the 324 building standing to act as a barrier to prevent precipitation from reaching the underground contamination and driving it closer to the groundwater, which moves towards the Columbia River. Well, great. Work began in 2017 to stabilize the building and the soil beneath it, so a remotely controlled excavator could be used within the building to dig up the highly contaminated soil beneath it. Now DOE is considering a more costly and time-consuming cleanup plan that calls for tearing down the approximately 58-year-old building and building a containment superstructure over the waste site and then digging up the contaminated soil. Details of the new plan have not been worked out. A containment superstructure. DOE is discussing the possible new cleanup plan with its regulator on the project, the Environmental Protection Agency. The spill has not reached the groundwater, or so they say, where it would travel underground the short distance to the Columbia River based on data from monitoring wells, DOE said Thursday. Anyways, the building was used. It was it's on the edge of the Hanford Nuclear Reservation in eastern Washington, and it was used for research, and also produced plutonium for the nation's nuclear weapons program from World War II through the Cold War. Awesome. And it was actually used for research up until 1996. It was scheduled to be demolished by a legal deadline of September 2015, but as preparations were being made for the demolition in 2010, the spill beneath the building was discovered. Uh-oh. In the 1980s, one of the building's 6 hot cells was being used to prepare concentrated radioactive cesium and strontium from Hanford plutonium production waste for Germany for use for testing of a repository for radioactive waste. Hanford workers stood outside the hot cell and used controls to operate manipulators within the 30-foot tall hot cell with 5-foot thick walls as they watched through leaded glass windows. At the time of the work for Germany, the stainless steel liner on the floor of the hot cell was damaged, allowing the concentrated high-level waste to leak into the soil beneath the building. The bottom of the cell is about 42 feet above groundwater. All right. We don't know how to do nuclear power safely. I'm sorry, we don't. We do not. And we don't know how to, we don't know how to keep it safe in the event of a catastrophic climate event, weather event, flooding, whatever it might be. We don't know how to do that. So anybody that's out there saying nuclear power is the way are complete and utter lunatics and don't understand what they're talking about it. They don't understand what they're talking about. And they'll probably come at you with all the scientific like, well, seems like everything's okay at Chernobyl. Oh, is it? Yeah, there's, everything's fine. Okay. Okay. I got a house to sell you in the exclusion zone of Chernobyl. You down? I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Yeah. Have this story from Poppy Davis. Yeah, a lot of people are suffering from extreme heat, for sure. After weeks of extreme heat in Texas, numerous deaths and record number ER visits for heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Texans die amid dangerous heat wave. This is from yesterday. It's getting a little toasty here. A dangerous heat wave that blanketed Texas this month has prompted a public health crisis that's particularly affecting older people and outdoor workers across the state. Local and federal health data shows. At least 9 people have died from the heat in one South Texas county. The local medical examiner reported 8 of them older than 60 in sweltering Texas prisons. At least 9 inmates, including 2 men in their 30s, have died of heart attacks. Wow. Or unknown causes in facilities that lack air conditioning. Why? That's messed up. In Texas, you have a prison with no air conditioning. Wow. So you're basically saying like, You're basically saying, we don't care if you die. Yeah, sorry. I know you committed a crime and we're sending you to jail and stuff. We're supposed to keep you alive, but we're not going to provide air conditioning, so good luck out there. Man. In one particularly harrowing incident, a 14-year-old boy and his stepfather, 31, died after hiking Big Bend. We talked about that. The stepfather died after crashing his car as he raced to get help after the boy lost consciousness on the trail. Anyways. It's hot. It's hot as heck. Be careful out there. If you are in a place where it's, extremely warm, you're seeing heat advisories coming through your phone, just try not to do as much. Drink extra water, stay in the shade. Don't go for a hike if it's 119 degrees. Don't do that. Or make it real short. Make it very, very short. Well, all right. Denver, happy birthday to your mom. Everybody wish Denver's mom a happy birthday. Denver also says no AC sounds like rationing people out of existence. Yeah. All right, let's continue. This is also another article that people have been putting out there. Yes, I saw that too. Nick Oliver. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. We're probably going to have to do that on Rockfin, though, and on Callin. But you're on Callin already, so there you go. Did you guys see the video with the trainer, Joe Aesthetics? That's interesting. I'm going to try and cut out of YouTube in a little while, guys, and we'll talk about some other things on Rockfin. But that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. There's, just all kinds of, it's pretty damning wave of information coming through the pipeline, right? Anyway, so this is climate nears point of no return as land sea temperatures break records. And we've been covering all of this pretty much every single day. The target of keeping long-term global warming within the 1.5 degrees Celsius is moving out of reach. Well, duh. Climate experts say with nations failing to set more ambitious goals, despite months of record-breaking heat on land and sea. As envoys gathered in Bonn in early June to prepare for this year's annual climate talks in November, average global surface air temperatures were more than 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels for several days. Right. The EU-funded Copernicus Climate Change Service said that's happened. That has already happened in June. So, the keeping it under 1.5 is done and dusted. In the words of Roger Hallam, we've run out of time because changes take time, said Sarah Perkins Kirkpatrick, climatologist at Australia's University of New South Wales. As climate envoys from the two biggest greenhouse gas emitters prepare to meet next month, the temperatures broke June records in the Chinese capital Beijing, and extreme heat waves have hit the United States. Parts of North America were some 10 C above the seasonal average this month, and smoke from forest fires blanketed Canada and the U.S. East Coast in hazardous haze, with carbon emissions estimated at a record 160 million metric tons. In India, one of the most climate vulnerable regions, deaths were reported to have spiked as a result of sustained high temperatures and extreme heat has been recorded in Spain, Iran, and Vietnam, raising fears that last year's deadly summer could become routine. Countries agreed in Paris in 2015 to keep long-term average temperature rises within 1.5, but no. Ain't gonna happen. We're getting an El Nino is ramping up. And I mean, this is kind of a rundown of everything that we've been talking about over the last month, I guess. Over the last month, we have been covering all these stories. Sea surface temperatures off the charts. Land temperatures off the charts. It's something that is absolutely happening, and you just have to, you don't really have to do much. You could actually just, roll out of bed. You really have to try very hard to not see the information. You really have to work really hard to go like, I don't notice anything. I don't know, everything's fine to me. If that's what you want to do. All right, let's keep going. Well, speaking of John Kerry, who was mentioned in that article somewhere, this is and I mean, the slant on this is clearly, the truther, the conservative right wing, slant, which is like, they're trying to make it seem like it's your fault for climate change when all these rich people, which is actually a great point, when all these wealthy people are out here burning up the carbon like there's no tomorrow. They just don't care. They just don't give a flying I don't know. You know what I was going to say. They do not care. Anyways, from Sal the Agorist, you'd have to burn a pizza stove 849 years to equal 1 year of John Kerry's private jet. Which is true. I mean, it makes people wonder, hey, I don't have any money. My carbon footprint is, it's something. There was a really good video, though, about a guy doing a rundown on population and carbon emissions. Maybe I'll dig that up. I had it earlier. Anyways. I guess they're going, in New York City, I guess they're going to go after pizzerias for carbon emissions from pizza ovens. It's ridiculous. How many pizzas would you have to order to equal just one trip on John Kerry's private jet? In 2021, Kerry's private jet emitted an estimated 116 metric tons of carbon in less than a year. Private jets emit up to 40 times as much CO2 per passenger as commercial flights. By comparison, the carbon footprint of a wood-burning stove, a reasonable facsimile of a pizza oven, is barely measurable. The 8 Billion Trees Project estimates that the carbon footprint of wood-burning stoves can be up to 15.6 grams an hour, or 376 grams a day. This is measured in grams, not metric tons. You'd have to burn that stove for 310,160 days. That is 849 years, to equal what hypocrite Kerry puts out in a year. Yeah, I mean, it is ridiculous. Right? It doesn't make a lot of sense to the average person. And then, if you want to replace these ovens with electrically heated ovens, well, most of the electrical power for New York City comes from burning gas and coal. So it's a silliness. It's a silly to say, guys, get your. Hey Joseph, give me a moment, man. I'll take your call in a bit. If you can hold on for a second. uh, it's rather it seems a little wackadoo, right? It seems wacky to kick farmers off their land in the Netherlands. Are these issues problems? Of course they are, but they're not issues. They're not problems that the people with all the wealth and the power are willing to address themselves. You know, you don't see John Kerry saying like, "I'm going to give up plane flying and do sailboating to all my meetings and conferences," or maybe I'll just do my meetings and conferences by Zoom. I'm not leaving my house. Sorry, I'm not leaving the state of wherever he lives. I don't know where he lives. Is he in Massachusetts or New York? I'm not leaving New York. I'm just doing Zoom conferences, guys. In the name of climate change, there's no need for me to show my face. I'd be like, okay, good on you. Like, thanks for putting your money somewhere, near your mouth. But no, I got to take a private jet because I'm John Kerry. I'm the climate envoy for Joe Biden. Okay, you can't keep. This is the, one of the bedrock problems with trying to talk to people about climate change is that you all look like massive, massive, massive hypocrites. You just look like, and you look foolish trying to tell people like these things are, we are really destroying the earth while you go ahead and you've got the biggest shovel. You're the one that's digging the hole the quickest. Man, we got to stop destroying this earth, man. Give me another shovel. I need a shovel so that I can better tell people how we're destroying the, stop. I mean, I know what we're doing to the planet. I know what we're collectively doing to the planet. And I know what, particular individuals are doing to the planet. Collectively, we're not in a good space. But there are some individuals that are really hamming it up out there. Maybe I can find this video. Why I find this video, I will take this call from Joseph. How are you there, sir? Hello. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? Maybe you weren't expecting me to come back. Well, here's the video from. We'll use this for the. I want to get to the second part of the show pretty soon. And we'll do that in a few moments. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I need to be careful of on YouTube and whatnot, but where is this video? Hey, Joseph, how you doing? Are you there? I am taking a call. You're still mute. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to take your call. Sorry about that. I'm just looking at the thing. Press the button.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
So it was you, not me?
There are a few. I don't know. The first time I couldn't hear you, and then I don't know what was going on. And then it was me. The last one was me.
Okay. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm cool. What's up, man?
Well, I think, I'm always trying to talk to you about density, right? And inertial stuff. And maybe a better way to do that, because coming from what you just said, the fuel for a jet is kerosene. And most of that comes from natural gas, but particularly in the U.S.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to talk about it, because that fuel that's completely usable for all kinds of other things, including heating. Whereas gasoline is not usable for heating. It's a waste product for making roads, diesel, everything that makes civilization happen. Gas is a waste product initially. I mean, obviously they use lighter oil to produce just gas also because they have a market for it. But take away some of that, and it becomes a conversation about a waste product versus a useful product between gasoline and kerosene, which is jet fuel. So the public is at a loss on how to even respond to these things. I agree with you about the double shovel thing. Certainly a private jet is a huge shovel. Anything tech, the phone I'm on, way bigger shovel than the old landline phone.
Yeah.
Both in its operation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the same thing is true of an electric car. It's like 6 times more demanding on the energy intake to create.
Oh, fuck yeah. Sorry for my cussing. I like the term double shovel, by the way. So
that was
it's good. It's good. I like that one. Yeah, so keep going.
No, that's kind of it. It's like you can start to see how the dense fuel at the base of our creation, being our consuming octopus civilization, is still the basis of everything. And the more we layer the other stuff on top, it can make it look like it's efficient, but it isn't.
Right.
It's just the boiler of the furnace for the heavy stuff is not in your visual context is all.
Yep. And I think about that a lot, and just even the not just the fuel energy, but like the manpower that's kind of like, the people doing the really like dangerous, crazy, hard jobs, and that are still, doing the heavy industrial lifting, right?
Right.
And you can even ag workers are like that too, right? They're just still doing the serious, hard labor that nobody, if you live in a Western civilized, whatever.
Right.
I don't know why I said that, but Western country, if you live in a Western country, like nobody, like hardly anybody does that kind of stuff anymore, right? Or so we think. Because we all move in everybody's online and making money online and growing their online business, or they're, creatives, or they're working, whatever it is, nobody's doing the heavy lifting kind of stuff, but there's plenty of people out there still doing it. We just don't see them doing it, right? They're still there. They're still there grinding away.
Oh yeah. They are the invisible class almost. They are out there, like right now today, I live in between 2 apple orchards, and there's people out there in this intense sun working, and they don't, other than if they weren't allowed to pick apples on site and eat them ever, they would never be able to afford the apples they're picking.
Right.
I can't afford the apples they're picking. They're organic apples. I asked the owners. They get shipped to Hong Kong and Japan mostly, and they go for like $10 an apple.
Jesus Christ. Organic, curated apples, right?
Oh, they're beautiful.
They're bespoke apples.
It's spoiled me. It's hard to buy an apple in the store now after having
one of those. You're like, oh, why am I eating this like cardboard? Yeah.
Right. And it's in the same boat.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? It's amazing that there's still people out there, grinding, or we don't see them because they're in another country making all our stuff.
It's right here.
But just like, we don't live in a big cloud of smog in a lot of cities, even though there's still smog. We had a smog alert the last 2 days in LA. It was like they call it an air quality alert now. They don't call it a smog alert anymore, but the air quality index says it's, and I went for a hike up in the hills with my daughter, and we looked out, and there's this brown, just the brown haze, what we used to call smog. Like, yeah, it's a smog. But we don't live in that cloud of smoke anymore because they shipped all the factories to another country where they all live in a cloud of smoke.
Like in Taiwan,
and we can sit around in the relatively clean air of a Western country and go, "What? There's no climate change." They're talking about the weather. Like I am smart. Sorry.
It's a frustrating situation to be sure.
Right, but if you lived in Delhi or Beijing or somewhere, or if you lived in Chicago in the 1970s, you would totally be like, "Oh my God, somebody pass a law. Somebody do something about this. We're being choked out," right? If you lived in LA in the 70s and 80s when I grew up here, Yeah, you would totally believe in climate change because
Oh,
you'd walk
when
outside and your lungs would hurt and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, we got to stop this stuff right away. This is terrible." But because you don't breathe that stuff in anymore, you can sit in an air conditioned, box somewhere and go, "Ah, there's no climate change." Yeah.
I didn't
Whatever.
see it with my own eyes, but do you remember seeing the fires on the rivers in Pittsburgh
Oh
and stuff?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
when we were kids.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's silly. Well, yeah. Anyways, man, I'm gonna jump off of YouTube pretty soon and try.
Okay. No, thanks. That was what I had. That was a good connection.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
And I don't really. I know that I can be extremely, harsh and condescending to people. I understand why people don't believe in climate change, but and I'm very, but there's some level of just like utter, intentional ignorance around it. You really have to like unhook your brain from the, like just basic connection logic to go like, oh, it's humans can't possibly destroy the earth. Meanwhile, you're doing stories about East Palestine and I can't look at how we're destroying the planet. This pollution is terrible. Look at microplastics and endocrine disruptors and all these things. Oh, but we can't possibly destroy the earth because climate change is what? What? I don't. You're not even making any sense, bro. Anyways. Oh, good. Tim Bob. Well then I'll continue, I guess. I don't, sometimes I feel a little bit jerky. And sometimes I care that I feel jerky and sometimes I don't. Anyways, all right. I'm going to play this video about overpopulation, but before I do that, real quick, very, very best ways to support the show. PayPal.me/Kevin Sandblum, Venmo at Kevin Sandblum, Cash App at Red Llama Music, buymeacoffee.com/Black Mirror News. These are the most directest, bestest ways to support the show. And I appreciate everybody that does support the show. And, yeah. And, try and check my coffees and stuff and all the people, donating, while I can during the show, just to shout you all out. Anyways, but y'all, all of you support the show, in so many different ways, and thank you for showing up and being here. All right. Okay, let's show this. Which I thought, this guy has basically kind of condensed something that, I've said in so many different ways, in so many different times on this show. So many different ways that I've said stuff like this on my show. But he put it together in a very succinct kind of way. And the question is overpopulation causing climate change? And he says the problem isn't too many people, the problem is too many rich people. Which, sure. I want to break it down. But let's listen to this.
Is overpopulation causing climate change? The problem isn't that there are too many people. It's that there are too many rich people. The richest 10% of the global population accounts for 49% of the world's lifestyle CO2 emissions. If we look more closely at emissions in the US, another recent study found that the super rich and billionaires consume 82 times more CO2 than the average US household. Now keep in mind, it's not as if the average US household is living sustainably. A third study by the Global Footprint Network recently calculated that if all of the world's 8 billion people were to live like the average US household, we would need 5 Earths worth of resources to sustain that level of consumption. Which means that if everyone was living like a US billionaire, we would need more than 400 Earths to sustain that level of consumption, which is about 399 more than we have now. So next time you ask yourself why the weather keeps getting hotter and why there are more wildfires and why we can't seem to do anything about it, remember, the super rich who hold all the power in this society don't want things to change, because they're enjoying things just the way they are.
Well, that's good. Very, very succinct points here. And I liked it. And what he said at the end, if you wonder why the rich people are still living high on the hog, it's because they like it. They like if you have money and power and access to a private jet and a $6 million home on beachfront property, well, that's a good time, right? That you're living it up. You're living high on the hog. You're having a good time. You got all this money, and you're going to do the thing that everybody else does when you have that much money. Most people are just going to do that. Most people are not going to go, nah, I got 20 mil in the bank, or whatever it is, I'm just going to live in this little bungalow over here and give away most of my. Most people are not going to do that, unfortunately. So, but what he said was correct, and he made a very salient point, which was like, well, if everybody lived like rich people, everybody on the planet lived like rich people, we'd need 400 Earths. Okay, that's a lot of Earths. But if everybody lived like a middle class person in America, we'd need 5 Earths. That's still too many Earths. So that's the problem that in the messaging. It's hard to, when people say, well, you want to make it our fault for climate change. How about you? Well, that's a great point. It's a really good, how about them? That's a great point. But it still doesn't matter, because if everybody had the standard of living of, you on the planet, we'd still destroy the planet. So you have to, sure, go for the people with all the wealth and the power and I don't know what. Try to make them, change their evil ways. I don't know. Do something about their unmitigated, resource hogging. But the thing is even if you get them to do it, you're going to have to do it too. If you're living, like a lot of people are living in the United States. Sorry, that's just truth. So the standard of living thing is a weird kind of icky discussion that a lot of people don't like to have, but we can't. Trying to export our standard of living to the rest of the world is a death sentence. Sorry, that's just true. It is a death sentence. We need to import the rest of the world's standard of living to our, right? What we might think as poor or people living in poverty, that's kind of how we have to live if we want this many people on the planet to not overstretch the resources of the planet. And it doesn't even really have to be like super poverty. It just could be like, well, living with a lot less. What was the metric? There was a metric in the Ministry for the Future book. They were basically saying like everybody could live, have like a house and heat and food and right, and enough clothes on their back, and everybody could actually live quite comfortably. You just couldn't have 8 cars or a McMansion or everybody has a boat in the driveway. You just couldn't have all the super excess extra stuff. But if everybody was cool with like, oh, I get a house and clothes on my back and there's food in the fridge, and we could all live like this, that would be okay. Yeah, it would be okay if that was all y'all needed. Anyways. I don't know. That's one way to look at it. A few ways to look at it. I thought it was a good video. Okay. Let's switch over because there was a couple things to talk about with the old C-19 and associated subjects. So let's do that. I know we only have 15 minutes or so left in the show. YouTubers, thank you for hanging out. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I will see you at the regular time. We're going to continue on Rokfin and Colin for a few more minutes. All right, so I'll see you guys over there. Thanks for hanging out. Before I do go, just checking out my... Checking out my things. Hold on. One moment. All right, got a donation from Dennis. And Dennis said, and on PayPal, Dennis said, thanks for what you do, Kevin. Right on, Dennis. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all. All right, cool. I think that's about it. All right. Thank you. Doug, thank you. Thank you for the kudos. Doug says, once again, thank you for what you're doing. Probably one of my favorite channels. Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, YouTubers. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll continue on Rockfin.